Welcome to the Sourcing Industry Landscape podcast, hosted by Dawn Tura, CEO and President of SIG.
Well, folks, welcome back to the podcast series. My name is Dawn Tura, and I'm so excited to introduce you to a brand new company that we're just getting to know. And so let me start with who our guest is today. It's Lukas Wawrla. Wawrla, did I get that right?
That's perfect. Yes, better than the most of the people.
And he's co-founder of Archlet, and he has a background in mechanical engineering and studied at ETH Zurich with a focus on supply chain digitalization. Now, in his studies and his career, he's been elaborating how data can be leveraged in procurement for better and database sourcing decisions. With Archlet, he is rethinking the sourcing processes with state-of-the-art technology. So, Lukas, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much, Dawn, for having me. Super excited.
Super excited. I want to get to know you, and I certainly want to get to know your company as one of the Future 5 nominated by Spend Matters. This is a big deal, and it's a big deal for our audience to get to know you. But before we get started, I'm going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor. And when we return, folks, we're going to hear more from Lukas and more about Archlet.
What is Sig University? We are an inclusive, internationally recognized university whose mission is to advance the procurement profession while enabling students to transform their careers through our world-class certifications. Sig University offers industry-recognized certifications programs, each offering a unique set of competencies and skills that sourcing and risk professionals need to be successful. The programs provide advanced training in subjects like strategic sourcing, supplier management, third-party risk management, intelligent automation, and more. Sig University is committed to academic excellence, which is why our students are trained alongside an international cohort, engage in discussion forums, and learn from senior practitioner faculty who leverage their deep industry experience with real-world case studies. Why Sig University? It was created originally at the request of SIG members. We knew there was a lot of training out there, but nothing designed around the ever-evolving skills and competencies that the modern sourcing and risk professional needs. The program was created through collaborating with dozens of industry experts to create a curriculum that is bold, fresh, and applicable to this day and age. If you're looking to advance your knowledge and your career, join us at SIG University.
So, Lukas, help me with the name. Do I say Archlet? Archlet? How do you pronounce it?
This is a very common problem, Dawn. Actually, it's Archlet. We wanted to build an arch between buyers and suppliers, but then we realized, only after we gave the name, that it's quite hard to understand how you should pronounce it. So in the end, you can call us however you want to. We're happy with it. We stick to the name and didn't change it in the end.
Well, the most important thing is that we're talking about you and about your company, right?
Correct. Yes.
So, all right. So from now on, I'm going to try and say Archlet throughout the rest of this podcast. But Lukas, and if I mess it up, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you right now. But the main thing, folks, is that this is a Future 5 provider as nominated by Spend Matters. And for everyone in the audience, you know, if Spend Matters says pay attention, this is like a first-time actor being nominated for a Best Actor category for the Academy Awards. This is a big deal. So, Lukas, can you tell me a little bit about what it means to your organization to be mentioned and, to be awarded Future 5 provider status?
Yeah, as you say, it is a big deal. And actually, it's also a real honor that we were selected among such a competitive landscape, right? There are so many startups popping up in the procurement landscape, and we made it, so it makes us happy. But second of all, because it's an independent recognition, it also gives us a lot of credibility with our current client base. And I recall after the award, we actually had a call with our client and they were like, okay, now we even trust you more. And our credibility went up immediately. So it's great. And we're very thankful for that.
Yeah, you know, and you're right. I mean, at any one point, it's shocking, but Spend Matters is following close to 200 companies. And majority of them are startups. So for you to be narrowed down into this, exclusive club is really a big deal. And so it certainly should add credibility to all of your future clients as well.
Definitely.
So if you could give me in just a couple sentences, what sets your offering apart? What is so innovative about Archlet?
So, of course, we get asked this question quite often. And the key differentiator lies in the fact that we are trying to democratize advanced optimization features. So basically, we're taking something which was very complex in the past and make it accessible to all sourcing managers across an organization, meaning we democratize it and consumerize it. That's number one. And number two is we have the ability to integrate a lot of non-cost parameters into your decision making and really make your sourcing decision actionable. So you can include risk scores, you can include diversity scores, you can include sustainability metrics and make that actionable while doing your sourcing decisions. And combined that democratization approach with this making decisions actionable, I think we are definitely one of the leaders in that area.
So is it for the sourcing decision upfront, or is it for the negotiation? Which part, or is it all of that?
It's basically when you launch a tender, you receive all the quotes, and then you have to decide your strategy. And predominantly in the past, it was mainly cost driven. But as you know, this is not state of the art anymore. So you start creating scenarios, you try to implement additional parameters into your decision making. And then with that, you start negotiating with suppliers and really make sure you get the best strategy out of it. So it's about sourcing analytics, sourcing optimization, and then awarding and making your contracts.
I like that. So I spent some time on your website and it's fascinating. I would love for you to give me a demo at some point. I would love to know more about the product. Yeah.
Always happy to do that.
So when you think about, so this is very innovative and you're getting everyone away from Excel and spreadsheets and using email and everything like that to document. So as you look toward the trends in procurement, and we're in 2022 already, what do you see as some of the future trends?
I believe that, I guess, the trends of the past are also the trends of now and the future. When I asked myself this question, I actually thought, well, being aware of the trends is something which was very, very well done by companies at the moment, such as everyone knows we should track sustainability, we should track risk and resilience, we should track diversity, etc. And everyone kind of wrapped around their head of how can I track it and how can I incorporate them? But now we are getting into a phase where we move from this awareness more to getting actionable and really incorporate them into our strategies. And I think when I would say about a trend, I believe that we're in this transition from being aware of we have to do something to actually make it actionable. And this is the new trend. Also, we are following and we are supporting our clients on that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the top drivers to our CPOs right now. It's how can I improve my sustainability in my supply chain? How can I become more resilient? And oh my gosh, third-party risk is huge. So you're touching on all of the hot buttons that keep our CPOs up at night.
Definitely.
So when we talk about procurement technology and service providers, we spend so much time talking about ESG initiatives, and that's environmental, social, and governance. Is that as large of an issue over in Europe as it is here in North America?
I would say it's a bit less in the area of importance because it's definitely a trend coming from the US. And I think the biggest idols for us are always US-based companies in that area. But we have very dominant players which are originated from Europe, which actually are active in this tracking and making sustainability more actionable. I think especially when it comes about diversity, this is definitely less dominant yet in Europe, but also here we see it's coming, especially for global companies which have a global footprint and which are serving in the US. They also incorporate these methodologies in Europe.
Yeah, and it really, we've always talked about supplier diversity, but to have diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, really has come out of the social justice movement to be, elevated to the C-suite, that every company needs to pay attention to it now. And as the social justice movement moved around the world, I really do hope that more and more countries are going to start looking at DEI, within their own employee base, within the employee base of their suppliers, and not just have a diverse owned supplier, but actually have diversity driven into the employee base as well. So it's something that investors are paying so much attention to here in the United States. So I'm glad that you're following the ESG curve as well, because it's so important right now.
Yeah, it is. But I also believe that, I mean, now we're following it and people put a lot of effort in it, but I also feel like it's important that we don't stop here, right? We should stop and tap on our shoulders and say, well, now we know what we are doing not that well or well, and we have that visibility. But now actually the tough part is coming, where you start incorporating that into your decision process and really shape the way you put your strategy, which often starts in sourcing, right? If you do your sourcing decision right, you also follow your new guidelines in area of ESG, diversity, risk, and resilience. So it's kind of coming to that area where you try to get actionable again instead of just being aware of things.
Yeah, it's the actionable part is really exciting. So when you think about, what's coming down the pike for, it's a trend that is now going to become actionable. What are you forecasting for the next couple of years in procurement?
Yeah, I believe that, as said, I think it is going in that direction that people try to incorporate these parameters more actively in their decision making. But I also think that, especially in the next 3 years, it's about getting priorities right. So what we often hear is that, of course, there are many options you can focus on in procurement, right? You can digitalize your supply chain, you can focus on learning and educating your employees, etc. But then what we sometimes hear is they say, well, we do risk and resilience this year and sustainability next year. So, but we believe prioritization means also you should reach a minimum criteria much quicker and then build up on the 100% later on. But if you say you do it next year, you might do it never. So better reach 60 to 70% maturity level of a certain topic and then build it up over the time by just trying to reach 100 and postpone the rest to the future. I think that's definitely a challenge every CPO is facing, because in the end, people tend to still have cost goals, cost reduction goals, efficiency increase goals. And it's kind of the balance between the other topics, which I see as a major challenge coming up in the next few years.
Yeah, and at least out of North America, if you're not focusing on all of this at the same time, you're not as attractive as a company to want to work for. And as the younger generation is entering the workforce, they're demanding that their companies pay attention to things like sustainability, ESG, human trafficking in the supply chain. All of these issues are becoming, if I want to work for a company, I want them to have these kind of goals and aspirations. And so waiting till next year isn't an option. I absolutely agree. And I like your approach. Just start all of them now and then just elevate them as you have time to go forward, but don't strive for 100% before you start the next initiative. So I think that's really brilliant advice. So let me ask then about Archlet, and I'm going to make sure that I keep pronouncing it correctly. So I'm really curious, mechanical engineering and then supply chain digitalization. Tell me a little bit about your background and what made you passionate about entering this kind of industry?
That's actually a really good question. And to be more precise, all of us 3 founders, we studied actually robotics, so very data science heavy mechanical engineering. And then once while we were studying, we got a call from a company and they basically explained us a problem in their decision making. So they had a lot of offers collected in a tender, and it was a lot of complexity linked to it with discounts, etc. And we basically heard about that challenge and we were honored to provide them a prototype. And then we realized that actually with our prototype we did, we were able to already add a lot of value. And then we directly asked ourselves, well, if we can add value with that solution on that specific use case, there might be tons of other who have the similar needs as this specific company we were able to help in the beginning. So we directly decided to start a company in that area with the goal to empower buyers and sourcing managers to make better sourcing decisions faster. So we actually entered in a data area and are now kind of in this analytics and optimization area, and are now kind of expanding from there and making our way more into the direction of becoming a proper end-to-end sourcing workflow tool.
Wow. So this started while you were in university.
Yes. Yeah.
And coming at it with a data science understanding is so important these days. So that's very impressive. So 3 co-founders, are you all still in the company?
We are all still in the company. We were lucky enough that we became friends before we started the company, which I guess was a very, very good coincidence. We still go out together often. Next week, we do a running dinner. So we do starters at one co-founder's place. I have to do the main dishes, and then we do drinks at the third co-founder. So it's kind of a good friendship and kind of also family, or a good sports team.
Yeah. So what year did Archlet start?
We started in 2019 and officially then kicked it off at the Digital Procurement World in Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. But grew from there to about 40 people, headquartered here in Zurich. Still the same mission, still the same vision, and data focused to empower and rethink sourcing.
So you made Future 5, and you're not even 3 years old yet.
Correct.
That, folks, I don't know if anyone else is aghast at that. Like, oh my gosh. Like, how does that happen? So the 3 founders must be brilliant people. And to already be at 40 employees, that says a lot about you and your co-founders. So what a brilliant team you put together. It's really exciting. So when we think now about the future, I'm gonna be looking to you to be this innovative company. If you can do all this in 3 years, I can't wait to see what you're going to do in the next 3 years. So tell me a little bit about the future. Where else do you want to develop? You say you want to be an end-to-end solution. Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, so actually we see us as an enabler of making sourcing decisions more data-based and also more actionable. So we believe that actually also the partner ecosystem plays a huge role in the next 3 years for us, because we are not the ones who collect the sustainability data, but we are the ones who can make it accessible and actionable. So for us, we also see us as an enabling this whole partnership ecosystem, where we will focus on seamlessly integrating data sources, which then can be included in your decision-making and in your analytics during tenders. So this is definitely one of our core focuses at the moment, to also use the new technologies, mainly cloud and seamless integrations, to kind of build up this ecosystem of partners to shed some light from different angles and include different parameters.
That's amazing. So I've already looked at your client list that you have on your website. You've got some really impressive companies that bet on you in really early stages. Was it just the fact that you made it so easy to use your software? What was your big selling point to be able to to land some of these huge names?
I think, simply put, it is a real issue that analyzing tenders is still a very Excel-based process. So it's something which every big company knows, that as soon you have a certain amount of complexity in your tender, this can start very early. You actually analyze in Excel spreadsheets. And this is because, first of all, everyone loves Excel. But second of all, tools are not made for this complex decision-making processes, because they maybe mainly focus on payments or contracting or other areas of that process. So I think we really hit the need, and we're able to cooperate and collaborate in a way that we were able to win these clients. But I also have to say, without the clients, we wouldn't be here. So it was really a give and take. And I highly appreciate the trust we got early on. And this is also something which we try to pay back and try to be the best possible partner in that area, right? To innovate together, have an open ear for feedback. One of our core values is being user-driven. So we really value feedback from users and try to incorporate that to our product roadmap.
That's wonderful. So it's people and process that's so important, but you're also bringing some tools to people that we didn't have before. And do you think that the normal procurement person grasps the importance of what all this data is going to be able to do for them?
I think in the beginning, we often had reactions that users really said like, oh, no, I don't want to work with you because you're basically doing my job. And it took us a time to make also our wording in a way that actually we team up with our users, right? There's no reason to exchange them by technology. We want to empower them or enable them to do things better, quicker, faster, more transparent, and also in the end, give them a lot of value adds. So I think it's in the end, we are an enabler. We are automating non-value adding tasks such as data cleaning, data cleansing, feedback, etc. But we're not automating negotiations. This is still something where we believe in our cases, in rather large and complex tenders, we give the power to the user and they should become the hero of all their negotiations. So it's kind of an intersection and symbiosis, and we really try to work as a team here and kind of approach the challenges together.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're taking, the mundane work, the stuff that, we all love Excel spreadsheets, and I in particular do. I'm a bean counter by trade, but when you take something that is so mundane and you extract the information and you provide me the insights, that is exciting as a procurement professional. I don't really need to spend time, doing all the crunching of all the data. And I'm probably never going to be a data scientist. So for people like you to be able to extract that data and then give me the wisdom that I need to be able to go forth with these tenders that should be very exciting to procurement professionals once they understand how empowering your tools are for them. So that's very exciting.
And it's also breaking out in these data silos, right? Because making holistic sourcing decisions also means that maybe the data you have in your Excel spreadsheet is not enough for a real holistic decision. You need other sources to actually make a holistic sourcing decision. And this is also something we're providing, that you have the chance to actually consider additional parameters and also weight the opportunity costs. And then you can do a scenario and say, well, let's focus on the most sustainable strategy and compare it with the cheapest option. And you immediately identify where you can drive sustainability with maybe only a small on cost, while maybe for other items or packages, it doesn't make sense at all, but you drive that conversation in the right direction. And this is also why we always talk about holistic sourcing decisions. It's not only about cost, there are so many other factors you could actually consider as a decision criteria.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that we're getting away from just talking about just cost savings and price and things like that. That's so not where we should be focusing as professionals. So Lukas, I would love to make sure to make some introductions to you for your company to all of our North American members, as well as our European. I'd love to invite you back to the podcast and get an update as to what else you're developing and how you guys are evolving. Would you be open to that?
Sure, of course. How can I say no?
Well, you can, but I would really love to have you back because you've done so much in such a short amount of time. I can't wait to see what the next couple of years have in store for you at Archlet. So, and I'd love to get to know your other co-founders as well. So, but we are running out of time. So Lukas, we are going to wrap it up right now. But folks, I am talking to one of the 3 co-founders of Archlet. They're coming to us out of Zurich. And believe me, they are going to be making a huge splash in North America very, very soon. One of the future 5 named by Spend Matters, which of course means we should be paying attention to them. And Lukas, it's just been such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks, Dawn. Pleasure also on my side, and have a great day ahead of you.
You too. Thank you. And folks, make sure you
Bye-bye.
tune into the podcast very soon. We'll always be having new episodes coming out. Thank you.
Happy sourcing, everyone.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the Sourcing Industry Landscape podcast through iTunes or your favorite podcast app. Want to nominate someone for an interview? Email us at info@sig.org.